Hey there, curious souls. I'm honored to introduce to you today a remarkable individual, Charif Kaiss, whose life turned challenges into opportunities for growth and service. Imagine you're standing on the edge of the cliff, wind is whipping around you, your heart is racing with the thrill of the unknown. That's kind of what Charif faced when he looked cancer in the eye and won. You see, it wasn't just about battling a disease. It was about awakening to an inner strength that many of us don't even know we possess. Charif took that experience and transformed it into a foundation dedicated to help others find their own courage. It's as if he found a hidden well of confidence within him, and he wants to share it with the world. Awareness is his key. It's like turning on a light in a dark room, allowing you to see things clearly for the first time. Once Charif understood what he was truly up against, not just cancer, but the fear it bred, he could face it head on. And isn't that something we all need? To strip away the shadows of doubt and see our fears for what they truly are. By tuning into this awareness, Charif discovered that confidence isn't just about being bold or fearless. It's about understanding and facing your fears, learning from them, and using them as a stepping stone to build a life of purpose and resilience. Each of us has that potential. So let's walk this path together, embracing our fears and transforming them into a fuel for our journey. Because when you illuminate your awareness, you ignite your confidence. It's truly a journey of living spiritually brave. I'll see you on the inside. Hello from the Pacific Northwest. This is Kristen from KristenWambach.com, and you're listening to Interviewing Jesus podcast. Answer me this. How does a Baptist farm girl from Oregon stumble upon the mystical nature of Christ, the love of God? If you're like me, Jesus has redefined what you used to say yes to. Join me and my guests on a mystical journey. But before we talk about the spiritual woo-woo, you need to know I am totally sold out to Jesus. It's amazing what the love of God reveals. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you are here. I have a special treat for all of us today. But before I introduce my special guest, I'd like to frame our conversation from Romans 12 with just the first few lines of the passage that God had highlighted for me for 2025. It says, live consistent with who you really are, inspired by the loving kindness of God. My brothers and sisters, the most practical expression of worship is to make our bodies available to Him as a living sacrifice. This pleases Him more than any other religious routine, and He desires to find visible, individual expression within your person. He desires to find visible and individual expression in your person. My special guest today, Charif Kaiss. What do I know about him personally? His determination, his strength. He's a great listener, and his heart and spirit love change and growth. Thank you. I welcome you. Welcome, welcome. So welcome our guest today. Yay! Hello.
Thank you. Hello, Kristen. Thank you so much for having me with you today. Uh,
I'm glad you're here.
Now, when I say how much it suits you, this podcast, you behind the micro, your energy, your vibe. I wish the audience can see what I see. I I, I wish they would see it, by the way, because it's inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So, some of the things that I pulled from online and some of the things that your heartbeat is authentic leadership coach. You're an author, you're a founder of a foundation called Crush Cancer, a cancer survivor, and also my friend. Yay!
And I'm
There
blessed to be
we
your
go.
friend as well,
So, if
Kristen.
you would introduce yourself to our listeners, please.
So I want to say I'm a big fan of Jesus.
Yay!
Yesterday I was in the tube and there was a poster. You know, sometimes they pass on ads in the tubes. And there was this quote to Jesus. It says, I love you with an everlasting love.
Mhm.
It's and today we're doing a podcast, and Jesus is the core of this podcast. So I'm blessed, I'm honored to be here. And I want to say to the fans, thank you for listening to us today. Promise it's gonna be inspiring. I spent the last 8 years of my life trying to find inspiration in this life. And I can say this, I always say it. Maybe few people understand me, but those who want to understand, they would know more. The best lessons I've learned was throughout pain and throughout suffering. My calling, I believe, is throughout the pain, the mental suffering, is to find meaning in life and to trying to inspire people while doing so. So that's me. That's how I see it in a nutshell. And that's what we're gonna talk about in one way or another today as well. Christian,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, would you share with our listeners how you and I connected? We are at different
Wow.
ends of the
Wow.
world.
Yeah, I was in Lebanon. It was in Beirut, and you were in the States. Which state was it,
I'm in
Christian?
Oregon.
Oregon. Sorry, that's my bad. And we were both enrolled in the program, Tony Robbins program, Robbins Madaris.
Mhm.
And we had a whole session with one of the psychologists in theirs who was guiding us throughout the program. At the end of it, they put us on Zoom calls with anonymous people, randomly, actually. And I was happy to see this vibrant, beautiful woman behind the scene smiling and saying, "Hello, what's your name? My name is Christian. Where do you come from? What do you want to
Yeah.
talk about today? Let's meet, let's discover." And we had a whole exercise to do, but we didn't do anything with the exercise because we were so busy getting to know each other. That's how that's how inspiring that first encounter was. And most things we talked about was spirituality, as I remember, Christian, right? We didn't.
Mhm.
It was all about spirituality, spiritual things.
Yes. That was so fun. I love
Yeah, it was
that.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I believe that things are meant to be and things are meant to happen. And I remember at the time when I met you, I was discovering myself more and more. I was getting to know Jesus on a deeper level. I was 25 or 26 at the time, and I wanted to know more. And suddenly I come to meet Christian, who's very much into spirituality. You, you're flying further away from me, and it was exactly what I needed to understand what I was looking for more. And you helped me throughout this way as well, Christian.
Oh,
I can say that.
yay. Now, I'd love to find out more about you since we have this wonderful opportunity. Would you share with us what is one of your favorite stories from you when you were growing up?
One of my favorite stories.
When you were growing up?
Can the story be of me when I was 5 years old?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know why I remember the story. The weekend, I think, while I was walking the streets. So when I was 5, I went with my dad to the mall. We were walking between the stores, and then we went to Virgin Mega stores back at the time. It was like 25 years ago. Uh, and I saw this beautiful, at the time there wasn't something called DVDs, I think. There was the cassettes.
Uh-huh.
We call them cassettes in English, the one you put in a player and
Uh-huh.
under the big TV screen.
Uh-huh.
But I saw a beautiful cassette about the story of Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted so much to take this cassette, buy it, and go watch it at home. I was 5 years old. So my dad let me wander in the store while he was doing his stuff, looking at the things that interests him the most. So when I went to my dad to ask him to buy me the cassette, he said, no, it's too expensive. It was too expensive, to be honest. If I when I think it was like $20 at the time for a cassette. And he said, I have a lot of them at home and it's worthless. And he said no. I was too upset that I refused to uh, accept that I was refused the luxury of watching Mickey and Minnie Mouse at my home and the comfort of my seat. So what I did, I had to come up with a plan to convince my dad to get the cassette. So I hid the cassette under my shirt, and yes, I was a naughty little boy, and I wanted to walk out of the store. And the plan was, once we get back home or get back, I show my dad the cassette. Oh, look, I got it without your consent. I don't need your consent anyway. The thing I neglected is that they have an alarm system in the store. I didn't know. I was 5 years old. So while walking past to get the exit store, I looked at the security guy. He was speaking to a nice little woman, lady. He didn't give much attention to me. So there was just the exit door for me to run through. As soon as I walked past the exit, the alarm started ringing off. And I look behind me, I see the security guy looking at me, eyeballing me, and he smelled that there's something naughty happening. So he decided to catch me. All I had to do was to run. So that was all I was doing. I was just running. I ran. The more the security guy was running before me, and suddenly I see my dad looking at me from far away. Why is the security guy following my little son in the mall? This is where he caught me. This is where he brought me back to the store. This is where my dad came. This is where my dad discovered that his little son, he's 5 years old, he's a little thief, and he was obliged out of embarrassment to buy me the cassette, and that's what happened. I don't know why I was remembering this story 2 days or 3 days ago, and I don't know how I managed when I was 5 years old to pull such a thing, because that was the only time in life that I steal something or I tried to steal something, because I didn't technically steal it fully. I tried. I wasn't trialed for it as well. But the thought of me doing this when I remember that moment makes me laugh, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's funny.
Mhm. That is a great story. Thank you for sharing. You are an authentic leadership coach.
Mhm.
What are some practical tools you use to live consistent with who you are?
Look, being talking about authenticity is talking about the truth.
Hmm.
Even the things, not even the most important things you need to confess, at least to yourself, uh, are the bad things you do in your life. So being truthful is something very important, because truth is power. Jesus teaches us about how important it is to be truthful, and how important it is for us to seek our truth. To be able to seek our truth, we have to expose our lies, and we have to question our lies. Why did Sharif lie about this? Why did Sharif do that? That hurt the other person. Maybe today, for example, Christian, my most of the wrongdoings I do them in my mind. My bad thoughts, my sometimes, you cannot help it. You feel a certain feeling of hatred towards someone, or maybe an envy, or it bothers me a lot. Where is it coming from? I know from psychology it's coming from deep traumas, it's coming from deep things in the past. While it's nearly impossible for me to discovering them in the meantime, maybe I need the help of an expert. But what I can do in the meantime is to try to question them, is to put them on the spot, put these thoughts and try to understand why am I thinking this way? What makes me think about doing this behavior, for example? And they try to find an alternative. And then I remember that I am the Son of God. I am Son of Jesus. I am supposed to be giving the light. The light is the truth. I pray and I try to get so a lot of things, questioning, thinking first, trying to think about it, where it's coming from, thinking about the pain it's causing me as well, because a lot of people they are afraid to face their pain. So I face my pain. I remember my values. I remember my higher values as well, and my higher purpose. I remember what is my mission, what am I doing here, and I plant a seed in my mind, which is an intention to change it, to make a change. A lot of times I refall into the same mistake again and again. I recommit the same, you want to call it sin, you can call it sin, but I'm becoming more and more aware about it. This is how you change. You gain first awareness. Awareness can take a lot of time, but if you're willing to do it, you can do it. That's the message. So that's one thing to go for the truth. Because I started by saying one way for living aligned with your values and beliefs is to be truthful. That's one way about to understand your own truth in life. And there are many ways, Christian. Of course, I don't know them all, but I mastered some of them, and most of them come through the work that comes via case by case. What are the problems? What are the pains? What are the fears? I tried a lot to understand someone's position in life throughout understanding their fears and pains. These are main triggers that open the gate for a lot of answers. So yeah, yeah,
Thank you. Wow, there was so many questions, so many things that I want to unpack with what you share. You shared in that. In that, you said that facing pain was really hit home to you. So I'm going to frame that. So when you are facing pain or it's knocking on your door, how do you strengthen yourself?
the pain when it's knocking on the
When
door.
it's yeah, when you are facing it, how do you strengthen yourself? How do you look it in the eye and face
Okay,
it?
let's define the pain here. Here we're talking. Let's talk first about the mental pain,
Okay.
mental or emotional pain. Let's say,
Mhm.
in order for you to face the mental or emotional pain, you shouldn't be completely immersed in it. You should give yourself a certain space. For example, if my pain is related, for example, to I'm going to give a real example of my doubts that I'm going to fail achieving a certain goal. Okay, I have a lot of doubts. These doubts come from a pain, from an earlier pain in my life, which we call reference, in which I did fail in achieving a similar goal, or maybe the same goal in the past. So it created doubt. If I keep myself, if I stay zoomed in this doubt, regarding this goal, if I stay zoomed in this goal, technically, doubt's gonna still be here because it's been here. It didn't create itself now. It's been here since months, maybe years. So if you're immersed in it, it's hard for you. It's like you're blinded. We say it, emotions, they flood the mind, they flood the reason as well. Like it's like you're blinded, you cannot see straight in front of you. So what we should do in this position is to retract and put this goal aside for a while, regain our positive energy for a while, like have a mental space, a safe mental space to heal in a way. And once we do that, we give ourselves a break, 1 week, 2 week, depends how big is the doubt, how big is the fear. It depends if it's related to a certain trauma. If it's a trauma, it's a big thing, it might take month and month. Once we have this mental clarity, we can rethink about pain. We can put it down on the paper, we nail it down on paper, and we speak to it. We try to understand it. We try to understand where this fear is coming from. Why was I afraid at the time? Where did this fear come from? What is this fear? We write it down on a paper. Doing this after the break is very important because in this case, our mind is not consumed with negativity. In a way, we recreated a space in our mind to think in a clear way and to see the truth that says that these doubts are unjustifiable. If we failed once, it happened for us. Why did it happen for us? Because this failure brought with it lessons. While giving ourselves this space to think again, we look at the lessons, and the lessons are strength or power. It's a boost, it's a bonus for us to face this new challenge, which is similar to other one, but now with a new level of awareness. In one side, we gained awareness uh, because we've gone through it before, we're already experienced now. And on the other side, we re-questioned the pain. We understood ourselves more. We understood where the fear is coming from. And this brought us awareness as well. So
Mm-hmm.
awareness plus awareness gives us confidence. And all what we need when we face pain is confidence and awareness. We need confidence and awareness. Awareness is wisdom, by the way, in this case, because it's coming from pain. It's a very good wisdom. Confidence plus awareness gives us the self-belief to go through it. That's how I face pain usually. This is how it's a step-by-step process. Sometimes it can be a slow process, but it's very fruitful.
Mm-hmm. I love how you said that awareness gives confidence. That's
Hmm.
that's just an excellent thing, that awareness gives you confidence so that when you look it, face it, then you're confident because you experience yourself going through it, overcoming it, looking at, asking the why, and facing
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
Excellent.
Exactly. There's an example I give. You can, for example, um, for me, belief equals awareness plus courage.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness plus courage give you belief, self-belief,
Mm-hmm.
and belief in yourself. If you're courageous without awareness, you it's like you being Hercules without a mind. You can beat anyone. You think you can crush anything. You think you can, but the problem here is that you don't have a target. You don't have a goal. This is why you need this awareness. Awareness gives you the wisdom. Awareness gives you the target. Awareness gives you the self-confidence to know that with courage you can achieve anything in life. Hence, belief.
Excellent. Excellent. So your foundation,
Hmm.
your foundation, how is your awareness help you set goals for your foundation of crushing cancer?
How does it help me set goals or
Well,
like
how does your
zoom in?
awareness, because your awareness is helping people, because what you are currently aware and you share with people so that they can learn how also to become aware.
Yes, exactly. So throughout my charity, we have 3 to 4 missions. First mission is to provide emotional support and psychological support to cancer patients.
Mhm.
Second mission is to spread awareness. We do it throughout events. We do it throughout TV interviews. We do it throughout different ways, different platforms. Spread awareness about the importance of a psychological aspect to beat cancer and the importance of love as well. Giving love to cancer patients is giving them a very, 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 very strong medicine to get past their disease. So awareness, second thing. Third mission I do is to teach the youth. When I say youth, I'm saying the kids who join us from scouts, associations, schools, and universities, how to be humanitarian and to share humanity and love with others. And the fourth mission is to try to provide these patients with financial support because a lot of them, many of them, they don't have the financial means to get the full treatment. Awareness is everything, Christian. Uh, it started first. It started with passion. How I started, I was 21 years old. I wasn't yet into psychology, but I had gone through a lot of pain because of my cancer, and I had a lot of passion and a lot of urge to help patients who are going throughout the same pain. And I had this small awareness at the time that just like I needed support, moral support, I'm sure other cancer patients they need it. And I had a small awareness that says that this support can make a difference, can make a big difference for them. And it is, I consider it as a mission to go on and fulfill it. And with time, I started, the more you go, deep in what you do, and more you do it with heart, courage as well, and love, the more things will be revealed to you. And then I start understanding that it's not just my mission. It should be everyone's mission. So I started involving groups with me, youth, calling out scouts and NGOs, and I loved seeing these 18 and 19 and 15 and 16-year-old kids uh, go to spread this life and joy to these suffering, not just kids and adult cancer patients. I loved seeing the smile on the face of the big patients. It made them feel like Stephen Covey says in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, that what people in vulnerable they need the feeling of belonging. Patients, especially the adults who are in their late stages of cancer, who feel that they're losing everything, the thing they need the most is the feeling of belonging, feel that they belong to this world. They still belong despite all the terrible things they're going through, losing their hair, facial hair, everything, losing their money because of the very expensive treatment. Seeing kids they don't know, strangers in hospital, standing by them and giving them this love, it made them feel that no matter what they're going through, there are always gonna be people in this world who would care about them. I gained these awareness because I was put in these spots, in these situations. I've seen them firsthand, and it kept expanding. With this awareness came a lot of pain, came a lot of suffering, because throughout this journey, I met a lot of cancer patients, and because I was giving them from my heart, I became attached to them, and a lot of them passed away, and so I had many slaps on the face that dwelled me into traumas, that dwelled me into depressions, that dwelled me into sadness as well. It took me time to understand the purpose of all of this. And Jesus helped me a lot because it was my mission. It was my cross to bear, and it is still my cross to bear. I learned how to accept the death of these people. It's not a death, it's a resurrection to somewhere. better,
Amen.
of course. Yeah, of course. So what I want to say from all of this, all the story, that um, awareness doesn't come just by reading books or by going to Google and doing research. It comes from taking action. It comes by opening your heart to the world and trusting that no matter the pain you're gonna feel along the way, you're doing the right thing. And trusting that this pain comes with a purpose. Trusting in a higher purpose means trusting in Jesus, trusting God to help me throughout the pain to go through it. And thank God, looking back at all these experiences, it gave me a lot, Christian. Thank God.
Yes, gave you an awful lot of awareness, which
Hmm.
turned into wisdom.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Now, about we were talking prior to our recording, and I mentioned that a couple of Zoom meetings that we had before, you shared with me that you had a visitation from a saint. Would you share with us that experience, please?
Hmm. Look, I wish it was a face-to-face visitation, but the visitation was meant for me
Yes.
because I know this because I had a leukemia, and to overcome leukemia, I had to do a bone marrow transplant.
Hmm.
Before going to the bone marrow transplant, my doctor was aware, and I was aware that my body was weak to chemo, and that this bone marrow transplant, which was the only way for me to cure, is gonna be hard. I was aware that there's 20% chance of failure, and in my case, in general, in my case, it can be more, but that was my only way to get through it, and I believe that I would go through it. Yeah, that's an inspiring story, actually.
It is.
Not the first time I tell it. It keeps getting back to me because it did change my life. It did change, completely changed it. So what happened before going to the bone marrow transplant? I went to pray. I always used to pray, and initially I don't come from a Christian background. I come from a minority in Lebanon.
Hmm.
Uh, they just believe in God, in one God who's the creator, but we don't have a Messiah, we don't have a prophet, we don't have, it's just God. It's called the religion of wisdom. That their book is called the Book of Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So so this is my religion initially. But I always used to pray, and I was raised in a family that's open to life, open to the religions. My dad taught me to love all religions. So before going to the bone marrow transplant, I went to visit Saint Charbel,
Hmm.
Charbel,
Hmm.
in Lebanon, because he's known to help sick people. Uh, he performs miracles. He's very much loved in the country. And I know, because I've been there once before, that there's an amazing positive energy and peaceful energy where you go to visit him, because he spent the last 25 years of his life living alone in a very, very small um, house made of stone. He didn't have a bed. In the house, there was, of course, a church, a small church. So this is how he spent his life, praying for God every day, every second. So when you go there to visit there, you feel the energy, you feel the peace. It's my most peaceful place in Lebanon. So I went there, I visited him. I was in a very bad shape at the time. I could barely see because I had a very severe side effects from chemotherapy. I had a whole internal bleeding that made me go almost blind, stuff like that. And that was it. When I went through the bone marrow transplant, 3 weeks into it, um, just when we thought that everything was going all right, I started collapsing. My my liver almost stopped working. My kidneys stopped working completely. I gained 15 kilograms of weight in 4 days. I was peeing blood, so they had to insert a Foley down there. I could barely breathe, so they had to put the oxygen. I couldn't eat, so they had to insert another tube in my mouth to my stomach so that I could pass the nutrients. I was in a very, very bad shape. 2 to 3 days into this condition, I wasn't able to come out of bed and I could barely open my eyes. And this is where my doctor, he informed the other doctors that my case is over. It would be a miracle if I survive. This is what he literally said to the other doctors. Of course, I knew about this later on when I survived. And he said to my parents that, "No, be ready. Anything can happen anytime." So I remember there were 3 days where I was in hospital. I didn't have consciousness at all. I can't recall what happened. All what I can remember is that they moved me from a chamber to another without me feeling anything. And when I opened my eyes, I was surprised that they moved me to this chamber. And when did they move me? What, 3 days ago? That's all I can remember. Once I opened my eyes, I see my doctor in my room. He was surprisingly to me positive, and he said, "For the first time, we have good signs that I'm doing better." I didn't understand what happened. I didn't understand anything. One day later, 1 to 2 days later, a woman comes to visit me. She's a relative. She's a far relative, but she comes from my hometown. You know, Lebanon is a very small country, and belonging to such a small religion, the smaller the people who belong to a religion, the more racist these people would be towards their religion because they're more protective of it. They don't want to lose it. They don't want to. It's psychology of being a human being. This is what I understood later. I'm saying this because this woman happens to come from my religion. So she came to my room. I was in an isolation room, so only one person was allowed to visit me. She enters and she sits with me and she tells me, "Sharif, there's something I need to tell you, and it has to stay between us. I didn't tell my husband, and I wish that you will not tell your parents as well." Said, "What? Tell me what happened. What is it? What's this critical thing? I almost died. I survived again. What's more severe than this?" And then she says, "Look, I saw you in my dream. I saw you twice in two different dreams in two different nights. In the first dream, we were you and I visiting Saint Charbel, praying together in front of the cross. In one way or another, we were praying together. People, we belong to a certain religion." And her saying this is something, by the way, because her mom and dad are religious, are like they wear the costume. And in a second visit, we went there together, and Saint Charbel looked me in the eyes and he said, "If you want this little guy to survive, ask him to come and get baptized here." This was the message. And she had her dreams during this time, the very critical time in which my doctor said it's a miracle if I would survive. What are the odds? What are the odds? And this is a saint who's known to perform miracles. Every year we celebrate him in Lebanon for performing many miracles from with different people. What are the and I understood at this time. I understood. She told me, "Sure, if you want, we can go together and we you could get baptized and we wouldn't tell anyone." She was very naive to think it was something that could be done in a day, you know. But I understood at this point that that was a sign, Christian. That was a very beautiful sign,
Mhm.
and I survived for a reason. And God is here. Jesus is here as well. Hallelujah. And that's what I
Amen.
Amen. Yeah.
Amen. Yeah, amen. And Saint Charbel obviously visited you from the cloud of witnesses and your relative.
You think my relative as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But my
Yeah.
relative is a real person.
Mhm.
She wa- she like
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that story. You told me that a couple years ago, and I just went, "Oh my goodness, praise God!" I love that. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
It
this
was.
is why I started saying the more I say the story, the more I said it's inspiring because it does inspire me on the personal level. And today I believe in magic. Like if someone asks me, "Do you believe in magic?" People are dull about magic. I say, "Of course I believe in magic."
Mhm.
This was magic.
It was. It was the
If
supernatural magic of the Most High God.
yeah, exactly. The most I
Absolutely.
got.
Thank you so much for sharing. I
Thank you.
have I have another question. I know
Hmm.
this about you because you always I've seen several pictures. You used to talk to me about this, but you have an affection for sunrises and sunsets. And you told me that they're the most beautiful in your country.
True,
Is that
true.
your favorite place to have a conversation with God? Tell me why you love the movement of the sun in that spot. Why does that speak to you so?
I gave you the answer 30 seconds ago. It's magic, Christian.
It is.
It's I think I never understood it. Sometimes you do things, you love them. You don't think why I love them that much. Just do them because you love them. So before when I used to do it, when I used to go there, watch the sunset and the sunrise, I just used to enjoy it and I knew I loved it. But I never linked things together. But then with time I started to understand because I believe in magic and because I I see it, I see that our existence is a magical thing. It's amazing. It's when I got depressed, I just look at the sky and I look at the stars and I remember that we're in just a ball floating in the universe. We're in a ball floating in the universe, and then there's something called the sun. We're rotating around the sun. Sometimes we see it appearing itself to us. Sometimes we see it saying goodbye. How beautiful this is, you know? And the light it provides, the light of the sunset is different than the light of the sunrise. It yeah, the you don't see it in the same color. You see different contrasts, different layers. Uh, and then when the sun goes in the sunset, there's something called the twilight. And this is where the sky is illuminated with many different beautiful. I even see it here in London, pink, a bit of blue, a bit of purple, a bit of what is this? So I think it catches my heart the most because it's the moment in which I uh, experience the most the daily magic of life, like on a big scale level. You see, and there's a lot of things into it, providing as well that the sun provides the warmth, and warmth is life, warmth is love. There is something as well into this, and then comes the moon that provides the moon is cold, the, the there's no sunshine. There is a light that comes from the moon, but there's no sunshine. The moon is more of the peace. It's more of the stillness in life. It's this contrast between sun and moon is magical as well to see. Uh, so yeah, I praise God every time I think about these beautiful elements in life, to be honest, because it's very sad to be living in such a beautiful world, and most of our time we're not like joyful. I'm not saying we're not happy. We're not like joyful. If you walk in the street, especially in London, people are robotic in the streets. I don't see much smiles when I look at people. Even in my home country in Lebanon, we're more consumed by the daily demands of life, by the daily worries that we forget how beautiful this existence is, unfortunately.
Mm, thank you. I think we're going to wrap it up there. There isn't anything better than hearing your passions. And I've seen so many of the sunsets. Could you continue to tell me they're the most beautiful in Lebanon? So I'll have to discover that someday. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Listeners, this has just been such a joy to have Charif with us here today. Make sure you check out the show notes. I'll have all the connections that you can connect with him. You can find him. You can learn more about him. But I just thank you so much for being with us and sharing so transparently today. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Much love.